If you're starting to learn piano as an adult, can you actually get good at the instrument? The answer isn't no, but it isn't a simple yes either. Let's have a discussion balancing both the hope as well as the reality of being an adult beginner. My name is David Lane, and I like to help pianists and composers with techniques and strategies that will help them build and improve their craft. Hopefully I can help you too. So let's talk about the big differences between getting started on the piano when you're in, say, elementary school versus being done with all of school. Even though we now know that the brain remains malleable, flexible throughout our entire lives, it's not as flexible after a certain age. If you've ever tried to learn another language as an adult and compared that struggle that you've had with the 5-year-old who just picks up the language without much effort, you can see the difference. There is such a thing called the power of ignorance, where not knowing how hard it is to learn what you don't already know is actually an advantage. Kids don't have perspective and aren't held back by a perceived level of difficulty, but adults, correctly or incorrectly, always have a sense of how much there is remaining to learn. One of the first things that adult beginners discover is that there's much more to learn in order to play really well than you thought going in. Sometimes you don't discover this right away, but you realize it as you get further and further into your studies. So this is the first barrier to really doing well, your self-judgment. You have to give yourself permission to struggle. You also have to see learning music the way professionals already know, and that is that it's a long journey with no specific destination. There are landmarks along the way, plenty in fact, but there is no final destination if you're trying to really learn something. Before I offer a solution to this first issue of not having a real final destination, let's talk about other obvious and crucial differences between learning as a child and learning as an adult, and that is time. If you start learning the piano or any other instrument when you're in first grade, it's possible to organize your schedule so that when you're not in school, you're able to practice all the time. It's possible that during summer months, when you don't have school, that you could practice many hours per day. As an adult, you have responsibilities. You likely have a job. You might have a family. You are probably trying to find a half hour here and a half hour there rather than multiple hours. And you're starting at an older age, so you're at a severe disadvantage in the amount of time that it takes to really get good at the instrument. I have a podcast that streams on this channel called The Musician Toolkit. On episode 82, I chatted with Dr. Larry Wang of Wake Forest University, and he had this fascinating story of someone who decided to learn piano when he was already past the age of 40. And rather than paraphrase what happened, I want to play the clip for you of Dr. Wang explaining how the successful man was able to do it.
He was a student of mine in New York. He came to me when he was 40. And he had been working at IBM for 20 years, and he decided, no, I'm done with this. But he had music in his life before that. He was an organist, in fact, in college. But then after that, he stepped away from music for a long time. He came back and decided, you know what? I want to be a musician. I'm like, okay, let's have this conversation. All right, it's going to be, if you really want to do this, it's going to be really brutally difficult. If you think you're going to be performing or like traveling the world, that's probably not going to happen. If you want to make it work, you might be able to find something where you can, teach or, work at an organization, but it's not going to be what you might think it is. And he said, that's fine. That's not my purpose in doing this. And so I said, okay, well, if that's the case and you do what I ask you to do, then it's going to be a lot of practicing. You're going to be practicing like full-time job, like, 7 to 9 hours a day. And he said, okay. And in the course of, 3 to 5 years, I think it was 3 to 5 years, he managed to get himself into a graduate program and in piano. He graduated from that and he has a job as a music director at a church, and he teaches as well. And so, is he the best pianist? No. But the fact is, he found a way to make it work, and he loves doing it.
Did you catch that? 8 or 9 hours a day for a couple of years, treating the instrument like it's a job. That will allow you to log 4,000 or 5,000 hours in a relatively short amount of time. You're still a long way from being a virtuoso, but you can feasibly make up the amount of time that you might have been able to do in 10 years or more of practicing with lower intensity. So if you're going to do really well on the piano, but you're starting late, kind of like if you're starting late on retirement planning, You have to do a high volume in a short time to get to a certain level quickly. To accomplish a lot on the instrument, there really isn't a substitute for that. Now I imagine most of you listening, if you are an adult beginner or you're thinking about taking up the piano as an adult for the first time, you might be feeling a little downtrodden in hearing this. The vast majority of you don't have that kind of time to invest per day in learning the piano, and you might not have the patience to stay with it for 10, 15, 20 years of focused practice to get to advanced repertoire. So let's talk about the other thing that you can do, and that is to redefine the ceiling of your goal. Remember what I said earlier. There is no final destination, but there are landmarks. Find, with the aid of your teacher if you have one, a set of intermediate pieces or easy jazz ballads or arrangements of pop songs or film music or sacred music or show tunes or whatever it is that you would really enjoy being able to play, and shoot for that goal and commit to practicing in a way to reach that goal. Yes, it's a landmark, but it might be an enjoyable landmark that you want to stay and work on for a while. Do the work and see how you like it when you arrive at this first step. And then you can decide on what the next step of your journey is and whether it's another level of difficulty in your repertoire or whether this is really good enough and you just want to have fun with this level of music. Because whether you're playing intermediate or advanced music, you can still have a blast playing the piano. Choose your goal based on the time that you can realistically devote and what you really want to accomplish. For the reasons we stated, it's not as easy as it would be if you were starting in elementary school. But there's no reason why with consistency and determination and focus that you can't achieve everything that you desire as a pianist. If you found this helpful, I would appreciate it if you'd please subscribe to this channel, hit the like on this video, and please feel free to share it with someone else who might find it helpful. Again, my name is David Lane. Good luck with your practicing.